Të nderuar shikues, përshëndetje. Mirë se erdhët sërish në Balkan Talks. Në emisionin e sotëm do të fokusohemi tek zhvillimet në Republikën e Maqedonisë së Veriut. Unë ndodhem sot në selinë qendrore të partisë kryesore opozitare VMRO DPMNE dhe jam në shoqërinë e numrit 2 të saj, nënkryetarit të kësaj partie, zotit Aleksandar Nikolovski. Mr. Nikolovski, thank you very much for finding time to talk to us at a time when you are under pressure.
Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure.
Mr. Nikolovski, my first question would be about the characteristics of your political party. We had the impression that this political force under Mr. Gruevski was conservative and nationalistic at the same time. How would you describe it at present?
Well, VMRO DPMNE has a long tradition as a political party. It was founded back in 1990. And as an organization, VMRO exists from 1893, so it's a long history of around 130 years back. It's the biggest national force that is fighting for the independence and freedom of the Macedonians as a nation. It existed back in the Ottoman Empire, then it was illegal, forbidden. Then during the Kingdom of Yugoslavia it was forbidden as well. Then in Tito regime in Yugoslavia it was forbidden again, so we are only legal since 1990. But VMRO is the national force of the Macedonian people that is fighting for the Macedonians, for their place on the Balkans, for in the past for freedom and liberty, now for economic growth and prosperity. So if one wants to see it in negative, can be seen in negative, but I want to see it as in a positive, and that is that Macedonians, as other nations in Balkans, as Albanians, Bulgarians, Greeks, Serbs, and the rest, want to have their own political life, and we have it. We are fortunate to have it, and now we have to practically take the country ahead. That is better economy, more job places, better infrastructure among us as neighbors, which unfortunately is not happening in the moment, and that is our vision for the 21st century.
Again, if I would repeat my question, is VMRO at present more of a conservative than nationalist, or more of a nationalist than a conservative political force?
VMRO DPMNE as a political party is a political party that is center-right political party. That is as well conservative political party. We are covering both spectrums. We are as well Demo-Christian political party. So that are the three values that I would mention as a VMRO, three pillars that the party stands firm on. So that would be center-right, conservative, and Christian Democrat party. That's why we are part of the family of the European People's Party. VMRO DPMNE is the only political force from Macedonia that is member of the biggest family in Europe, that's EPP, and that are the values we share in EPP. So I would say a modern party, part of the EPP family.
Talking about the internal situation, Mr. Nikolovski, how would you define the relationship between VMRO and the Albanian community that lives in the Republic of North Macedonia?
If we speak for the Albanians as a nation, not for the politicians, probably we'll speak about the politicians as well. I think we have very good relation. We would like to grow, Macedonia to grow. And if we want Macedonia to grow, everybody should be happy and to stay and to live in the country. Unfortunately, like the rest of the region, we have huge problem with people that are leaving the country. And there you cannot divide whether they're Macedonians, Albanians, or something else. They are just leaving. And they are leaving because there is no functional system of rule of law in the country. There is high corruption in the country. Job places either are not opened or are poorly paid. And people cannot see their future in the country. Unfortunately, the education is devastated in the past years, and healthcare system is affordable only for the one that have enough money to pay it. In that circumstances, there are not many people that want to stay. Our job is, as a biggest political force in the country, to change it. In the party of the economy, in the past, we showed that we can do that. Back in 2006, Macedonia had 40% of unemployment, record high in Europe. We left the country in 2016 with around 20, which was still high, but double
Half
down.
of the previous one.
Our goal is till 2025 the unemployment to go below 9%, which is some good European standard, but as well the salaries to rise. And for me the most important, to create functional system of rule of law that will fight the corruption, because there are also people that are well paid, that have good job places, but are living, and the reason why they are living is that they don't want to live in a society where there is a lot of corruption and there is no order.
In relation to the Albanian political forces, during the election campaign, have you planned any possible coalition with any of the Albanian political forces around?
There are several political parties of the ethnic Albanians in Macedonia. We are having excellent communication and exchange of opinion and views, both with the parties that are in the government and with the parties that are in opposition. We do not have preferable partner, because that will be a question of the results of the elections, but as well of the program that we have. We would like our partner to share the values that we will share in our program. So whomever Albanians will vote for on the elections and will support and is ready to accept our program, we are more than ready to accept him in coalition. My expectation is that we will have absolute majority in the parliament, but even with absolute majority in the parliament, again, we would like to discuss and to create that kind of coalition, because we have always respected and we will respect the reality in Macedonia, and that is that the second largest community in Macedonia are the Albanians.
Have you reflected as a political force, Mr. Nikolovsky, regarding the passing in the parliament of the law on the use of the Albanian language throughout the Republic of North Macedonia?
Well, regarding the language law, as we call it, I think it was unfortunate coalition agreement between the current government. You know that the Social Democrats lost the elections, and we had one rule before that was called winner with winner, meaning the winner among Macedonians with the winner among Albanians, which, by the way, was created on request of the Albanian political parties. First time when they had to respect it in 2016, they didn't, which speaks a little bit about their morale and where they stand, but that is a question for their voters. However, they had to justify that coalition and created an artificial law that is not applicable. And we see that we have a piece on paper that is not applicable in reality. The Venice Commission has written more or less the same, and the recommendation of the Venice Commission regarding the language law, we expect that should be respected by the government, because it was the government that said during the process of adopting of the law that they will send it to the Venice Commission, and whatever opinion the Venice Commission will send, they will respect. The first signs we are receiving is that they will not do that, which is not good, of two reasons. First, you cannot accept the opinions of the Venice Commission only when you like it. And second, with the new methodology that France has proposed, and most probably will be accepted by the European Union, and it's the only way that we open accession negotiations, they ask strict respect of rule of law and of the opinions of the relevant European institutions. They have listed several, of which one is the Venice Commission. So without respecting of their opinions, we cannot expect that we will proceed in opening accession negotiations.
If you come to power, how will you handle it? We would like to interpret into a new possible new law, taking into consideration what the Venice Commission has said?
Absolutely, and that is what already our MPs said in the parliament, that they propose that the recommendations of the Venice Commission should be implemented. Now we do not have majority, but when we will have majority, we will do that, because we must respect the opinion. On the other side, no one in VMRO, neither I think in Macedonia, has anything against the use of the Albanian language. It is already used, and a bubble was created, especially in the regional public, that it is something that is new. That is not true. The Albanian language is used by the Albanians in the country without problem for many, many decades. in the past. It was in former Yugoslavia. Then Milosevic has forbidden it, and after that, with independent Macedonia, it was re-established as a right, and it was accelerating during the years. But it was real. It's not real that in places where there is not anyone who is speaking Albanian language that you should have bilingual institutions, because it's expensive and it's not adjusted to the reality. So what we are saying is that we should be real,
adapting it,
and we should adjust it to the reality. Otherwise, MPs in the parliament that are Albanian speak Albanian, ministers speak Albanian, all documents that are coming from citizens that are ethnic Albanians or are speaking Albanian language are bilingual, so no one had problems so far. But what was adopted as a language law 2016 is something that is not adequate to the reality. It's not constitutional, which is very important, and it's very expensive, and the Venice Commission has said exactly the same.
Mr. Nikolovsky, one of the important elements that the present or the government of the Republic of North Macedonia got a lot of credit about was the way it handled the relationships with Greece and with Bulgaria. And then the EU officials underlined the element that it was a pity that Macedonia or Skopje, the official Skopje, did not start the negotiation process. How do you, as VMRO, define yourself in relations towards the attitude that LSDM maintained regarding the EU affairs?
Well, I would not agree there, and I would not connect the things. The government of SLSM and Zoran Zaev got a lot of but negative credit about both the agreements with Greece and Bulgaria among the Macedonians that are the...
No, I was talking internationally.
That is something else, but both agreements are very bad. The worst we could have as a country and as a nation, both with Greece and Bulgaria. Practically, I'm always saying in a joke, if we would give a blank paper to the Greeks and say, write whatever you want, probably we would have better agreement, because they would feel a little bit ashamed to get everything what they got with so-called Prespa agreement. It's a big national betrayal, what Zaev did, and it's something that he will have as a bad legacy and burden for the rest of his life, to change that way the name of the country.
If you come to power, will you revoke the Prespa agreement, or will you maintain it for the sake of the prosperity of the Republic of North Macedonia towards EU integration?
If we come in power, we have to be real, and that is that the damage is already done. Zaev managed to change the constitution, which is for me the worst in that agreement, by force to change a constitution. He didn't change it by political will, but by pressuring people. Just to remind the public that several MPs were put in prison, and they were released only with a condition to vote for the change of the constitution, which is not very 21st century and democratic. And we are looking for two-thirds majority. If the citizens give us two-thirds majority in the parliament, then of course we will make changes, and we will, as you say, go step back, and we will try to get the name Republic of Macedonia in the constitution. So we need two-thirds majority to do that. We expect that the citizens will give us that power, because they are very disappointed with what is happening.
Again, Mr. Nikolovsky, I know that you have met almost all the European leaders and have discussed with them about the political situation here in the Republic of North Macedonia. The thing is that you explained the feelings as you see them of the citizens of North Macedonia. How do you explain the fact that all the political leaders that make up the European Union are very much in favor of the Prespa agreement and all the other agreements that the Zaev government has signed with the neighbors and even European-wide?
Look, I'm a politician. My job will be, if we receive enough support, to present the positions of the people that will vote for me. And I think most of the politicians in the Balkans very often forget that. They are representing the people that are voting for them, not someone else. And that's why they lose support afterwards, and they are under big question marks why that is happening. The feelings of the people are as I have explained them. And that is what is the reality in the moment with Macedonia. What will happen in the future, we will see, but the feelings of the people regarding the agreement are very negative. People feel betrayed, and people feel that the politicians, especially Zaev, did not respect their will. And I cannot go against it. Regarding the integration of the country into the European Union, in Macedonia I am among, let's say, on the top of the list of the people that are in favor of that as a politician.
You have got the flag behind your shoulders.
Absolutely. But there are two things we should be aware of. First, 2 years after the so-called Prespa agreement, which by Zaev was described as the miracle that will solve all problems, the country is not opening accession negotiations. Not because of the name issue, but because of the corruption. And that is something that is clearly said in the reports of the European Union, but as well is clearly said by every politician European that is coming in this country. Unless we solve the corruption, we can do whatever we want in the other sectors. There will be no opening of accession negotiation. And second, there was big promise for better life. After 2 years, is this country living better? No. Is there less corruption? No. Do we have discussions with the European Union for accession? No. Then ordinary citizens are asking why we did it. So the key question in this country is why we did it. And probably the answer is Zaev thought that he could save his political career that way, that someone else will give him a chance to continue to govern in this corrupted manner that he's doing in the moment. But citizens do not think that way and do not see it that way.
Mr. Nikolovsky, Mr. Zaev, together with Mr. Rama and Mr. Vucic, they initiated the Schengen of the Balkans or mini Schengen agreement. What is your attitude towards this initiative? Is it functional, and does it help the citizens of North Macedonia? Because when I interviewed Mr. Zaev, he was extremely happy with this initiative.
Well, I will not speak about Zaev, why he is happy. But any initiative for better cooperation among the countries is welcomed. The problem is that they're on papers. From Tirana to Skopje, you need 5 hours to come. With good infrastructure, you would need 2.5 hours. Skopje, Sofia is 3.5, 4 hours. With good infrastructure, it would be less than 2. What we are talking about? There is no railway among the states in the region. There is no proper highway. The economy is not cooperating. It's cheaper to send by ship something from Thessaloniki to Great Britain, to Manchester, let's say, than to send something from Skopje to Thessaloniki. Or it's more expensive to send something from Skopje to Duresport than from Duresport to any point in the world, which is speaking how poor the region is and
from
how
your perspective.
Not connected is. Regarding this mini Schengen, as it's called, we think that it should not be replacement of the integration into the European Union, first. And second, it must be adequate to the reality, and all countries in the region must be presented in it. I cannot see mini Schengen, or call it as you want, without Kosovo in, without Montenegro in, without Croatia in, without Bosnia in, without Bulgaria in. Makes no sense. So that are our two positions regarding the mini Schengen.
Mr. Nikolovsky, there is high expectations in Albania and in the Republic of North Macedonia about the fact that the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, is slightly adjusting his attitude towards the accession. And the latest is that probably in the Zagreb summit in May, Macedonia and the Republic of North Macedonia and Albania will start the accession talks, will start the negotiation process. Do you share this view, or do you think it is ambitious at the moment?
Well, these hopes we are hearing for 2 years. It was May 2018, June 2018, and not to least till today. Good question both for Rama and for Zaev is what they did in their countries in these 2 years. Whether they were working to improve their countries, both Macedonia and Albania, or they were just waiting for the weather forecast to change and
In France.
something else to happen. One must understand that France and other countries, it's not only France, are not making their decisions of love or hate, but they're making their decisions of facts. And the facts are that both countries are not ready. The reason why Macedonia have not opened accession negotiations is because of the high criminal and having no reforms. And second, what I was publicly saying for a long period is that the group that was created with Albania. There was agreement for that in spring 2018, that kind of group to be created. That group pulled back the country as well, because always before that, Macedonia was out of any group, and it was individual case because of the specific problem that the country had with Greece. Now it's shown that practically the name issue was not the problem, but are the reforms. And what both leaders are doing, Zaev, and Zaev is already former, and Rama in Albania, citizens are seeing, they're not stupid, and they will punish on elections in Macedonia sooner, in Albania a little bit later, I think.
Mr. Nikolovsky, thank you very much indeed for this discussion. It was quite enjoyable. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for the invitation. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.